This video is going to be all about the vocals and how we get these into the song. So the very first thing is we'll want to drag and drop the vocal that you guys have, or you should have, from the song files. And that would just be labeled lead vocal. So we're going to drag and drop. Boop. And we are ready to go. So if we play this back, all we should get is just this vocal.
All my life.
All right. So once we have this in here, kind of the first thing we're looking at is great. We have one vocal. Awesome. How do we make a song out of it? So my thought process behind dropping a single vocal, and I don't always do it this way. Is obviously if I'm writing a song or if I'm writing a song with someone else, we will write the entire length of a song. And whether that be with chords or something else or whatever, it doesn't matter. In this instance, we're just making a song out of kind of one or two vocals. And that's for simplicity's sake and trying to learn production. So we have, again, just this one vocal. So how are we going to make this into a whole song? Well, we have, you can see I already labeled it at the top here. We have verse one. So this takes up the entirety of a verse. And if you guys were doing this on your own, you can decide for yourself how you want the song to go. I put this in kind of a normal, I say normal, but the usual structure, how I would kind of ebb and flow in a song. So drop this at the very start point. We are at 0.0000000, and it's at 140 BPM. So this little silence part at the end here, I think we can take this off. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, we could just take that silence off. So we have a whole vocal. So we have, I label it as V1, V1.5. So it's kind of like a first verse, not second verse, but it's like the second half of the first verse, if that makes sense. It does make sense. So what I'll do is kind of copy this over. And from here, I will start to play with the chords, but we're going to try to just focus on the vocal for a second, just to kind of illustrate the structure. So I just want you guys to pay attention to only this track right here. So we have this doubled up. So essentially, we'll play the song. You'll get through the first verse in its entirety, and then when we get to this part, this is where we start to get a little bit finesse the vocal a little bit because we don't want to hear that three times. Honestly, we probably don't even really want to hear it twice, but we can get a lot. We can get away with a lot in electronic songs, and just because we only have this. So again, just for learning. Um, but the way I figured this out, I was just thinking to myself. So if we listen back,
All my life, been waiting for you and I.
so I want you
We
to think
can't
about the
ignore
song.
everything going on in between us. In the
Got a first
light, in the
verse.
dark, you're my witness.
All right, let's
All
add some
my
stuff.
life, been waiting for you and I. We can't ignore everything going on in between us. In the light, in the dark, you're my witness. Oh.
Boom. Now we want to hear something different. That's about as much as I think we can get away with. So, what I came up with here, and it kind of comes out of thin air sometimes, other times I'm messing around with it, but you can see down here, we chopped this up. So, all I took was all my life. And so, I'm just going to cut that right on here just for simplicity's sake. So, it's right um, nice in line with our bar here. So, we're not cutting any kind of weird, we just have a bar plus 1/4. So I decided that once we got to this part, I wanted to hear the build up. I wanted to hear, all my life. And then it goes up and up and up until we get to the drop. So we're just gonna kind of repeat that tagline. So I have it repeated. I have it repeated. I have it repeated. But the fun part here is I don't want to just hear all my life 4 times.
All my life, all my life.
That's super silly. So what we ended up doing was flex pitching the vocal. So in essence, kind of created a nuance to the melody. You could say created a new melody, but it's that's that's pushing it. But we have so what we ended up with, and I'm going to show you guys.
All my life, all my
So
life,
those repeat.
all my life,
So how do we get that?
all my life.
We're going to flex pitch the vocal. So we are going to double click this guy, the one that we want to do. We're going to go to track. I'm going to go to flex pitch. Looks like it's already ready to go, but in case it's not flex pitch, or you can hit this button right here. It'll turn it on, and then you can go to flex pitch. We're going to scroll within this file so we can see it, and then you can see all our files. So we have all my life, all my life, all my life, all my life, all my life. There's only 4. But we're going to start right here. So we want to change this one. So we have,
All my life.
but I decided that it would be better if it just went up a little bit. So,
All my life.
so it was a G. So now we kind of have a pre-chorus type build section that will take us into the drop. So it's pretty easy. That's all we have done. We copied and pasted a vocal twice. We did a little, just the most minimal amount of manipulation on this pre-chorus vocal.
All my life. All my life. All my life. All my life.
And we'll get into effects and all that in just a minute here. So now that we have this, this is pretty much where I start to write some of the production. Sometimes I'll go straight into the drop from here. So we'll go ahead get into processing and some of the kind of detail work, just a little bit to make sure we don't have any weird issues going on. So number one, we cut these. So we want to go to region, highlight those. We want to put a fade on them. We'll check some of this stuff at mixing. Looks like I didn't even worry about it yet in the project. But this is a good practice. We cut this, even though it's in line, we still want to make sure there's a fade on it. We don't want any kind of popping in the final recording. That's a no-no. And then from here, all I did was put on 2FX. Everything I did in this project is stock. So if you have Logic, it's up to date. You can do everything I did. So we have the first thing I always start with in an effect chain. And again, this is the most simple way to do it. This, from what I can hear, this vocal is not only processed, it's tuned, it looks compressed. This is a great vocal. So we have, but it's dry. So in order for it to fit in the song, we're going to put some stereo delay on it. So we have this guy here. To get to stereo delay, it's in your delay, stereo. So we're going to open this up. I didn't go too crazy with this from the beginning. I think I left it at 35% feedback. Probably took this down to 23, so it's not going on forever and ever and ever. The left side is at 1/4. The right side is at 1/8. So you guys can copy this exactly. And then I would say, if anything, this is probably one of the most important parts of the delay. There's a couple ways to do this. There's more complicated ways to do this, but this delay plugin has an EQ function on it, which is awesome. So I put these at 240. So we cut out when the vocal delay rings. We don't want really anything below 240 coming into the song because it's nonsense. It's just going to clutter up our vocal, clutter up our frequency space. So we don't want that. And then at the same time, I like kind of a darker delay, so it's not as noticeable. I do them sometimes just varies so much randomly. So we have 1400 and 1100. So that cuts most of the high end off of it. So when you hear it back,
All my life. Boom.
it's in there. You can hear it bouncing around, but it's not in your face and it's not taking up the rest of the vocal. Um, and then the mix function again is at 23. So if we took these all the way up, it would just be insanity.
All my life.
It's just delay. There's nothing left. So we want to keep the dry pretty much in there, and then we have 23.
All my life.
So we get a nice little delay on it. Next thing we're going to drop in is Chromaverb. So that's in reverb, Chromaverb, stereo. Click on this guy. It's on Concert Hall. I play with the EQ, same thing with the delay. We don't want the reverb ringing out too bright. I don't personally, and we want to cut the low end too. So if your EQ function doesn't look like this when you pick on Concert Hall, then try to make it. You can drag, push up and down. You have it here. Dry is 100%, so the vocal comes through. 20% means how much reverb is actually being applied. Size up to 100, density up to 100, and the decay is at 2.2. You can be more technical with the decay, but I just picked something that was relatively short and still gave that EDM feel without just destroying the vocal. So with just the reverb, we get this.
All my life. Been waiting for you.
It's pretty nice. With the delay,
All my life.
now we get a clean delay and reverb on top of the vocal. Good.